Have you ever really thought about how we talk to computers? I mean, at their very core, these machines are unbelievably simple. They only understand two things, on and off. That's it. So how do we get from a basic light switch to, well, everything we see on our screens? That's what we're going to break down today.
Seriously, think about it. How does a machine that's just a bunch of ones and zeros, ons and offs, have any concept of something as vibrant and human as the color red, or the letter A, or even a simple number like 13? It feels like there's a huge translation gap, right?
And here's that gap in plain sight. On the left, you've got a code a web designer might type for a nice, bright red. Easy enough. But on the right, that's what the computer actually sees. It's two totally different languages trying to describe the exact same thing. Today, we're going to learn how to be the translators.
All right, to crack this code, we have to start with the basics. We need to learn the computer's native language, and that language is called binary. So in our world, we use the decimal system, or base 10. It's called that because, well, we have 10 digits to work with, 0 through 9. Computers, they live in a much simpler base 2 world. They only have 2 digits, a 0 for off and a 1 for on.
Each one of those ones and zeros is called a bit. And a bit is the absolute smallest, most basic piece of data there is. You can think of it like an atom in the digital universe. Literally every single thing you do on a computer, every email, every photo, this right now, it all boils down to just a massive, massive collection of these tiny on-off switches.
Okay, so how do we translate our number, say 13, into the computer's language? It actually looks more complicated than it is. All you do is keep dividing the number by 2 and just keep track of the remainder. So 13 divided by 2 is 6 with a remainder of 1. Then you take that 6, divide by 2. You get 3 with a remainder of 0. You just keep doing that until you hit 0. Now, here's the magic trick. You read those remainders from the bottom to the top. So you get 1101. That is how a computer says 13.
Okay, that's pretty cool. We can now translate our numbers into binary. But this creates a brand new problem. Binary is fantastic for computers, but for us humans, it gets really, really messy really fast.
I mean, look at this. Imagine you're a programmer and you have to stare at that all day. It's just a sea of ones and zeros. Trying to read that, or worse, trying to find a mistake in it, would be an absolute nightmare. There just had to be a better way for people and computers to meet in the middle. And there was. Say hello to hexadecimal. This is a base 16 system. It uses our normal 10 digits, but then it borrows the letters A through F to get up to 16 symbols. Now, this wasn't created to make things more complex. It was invented for one reason, to make binary readable for humans. It's a brilliant kind of shorthand. Here's the clever bit. Because 16 is 2 to the power of 4, there's a perfect relationship here. Any group of 4 binary digits can be represented by exactly one hexadecimal symbol. This means we can take that long, ugly binary string and just chop it up into nice, tidy 4-bit chunks. And boom, here's the payoff. Each of those little groups gets its own hex symbol. 1101 is D, 1010 is A, and so on. All of a sudden, that long string of gibberish becomes the short, clean DAB5. So much easier for a person to read, right? So, let's do a super quick recap. You've got decimal, base 10, that's for us. You've got binary, base 2, that's the computer's native tongue. And then you have hexadecimal, base 16, which acts as this awesome human-friendly bridge between our world and the computers. You see it all the time in things like color codes for that exact reason. Okay, so we've cracked the code for numbers. Awesome. But let's be real. Our digital world isn't just about numbers. It's about words, it's about text, it's about communication. And that brings us to our next big hurdle. If a computer only gets numbers, how in the world does it handle something like the letter A, or a question mark, or even a simple space between words? It can't, not on its own. It needs another layer of translation. The solution to this is what we call an encoding scheme. And you can just think of it like a dictionary or a secret code book that basically every computer in the world has agreed to use. Inside this dictionary, every single character you can think of, every letter, number, and symbol, gets its own unique number. And one of the very first and most famous of these dictionaries was ASCII. Using 7 bits, it had enough space for 128 different numbers. And that was enough to cover all the uppercase and lowercase English letters, the digits 0 through 9, and a bunch of common punctuation. And here's what that dictionary looks like in action. When you type a capital A, the computer doesn't see A. It sees the number 65, which it then stores away in binary. A lowercase a is 97. Even a blank space gets its own number, 32. Thanks to this system, we could finally start writing and saving text on computers. But there was a giant flaw in this plan. You see, ASCII was created by English speakers, mainly for English speakers. And the world, especially the internet, was about to get a whole lot bigger. With only 128 slots available, ASCII had zero room for characters from other languages. It couldn't do Chinese characters, or the Cyrillic alphabet, or Korean Hangul. For the internet to really connect the globe, ASCII's little dictionary just wasn't going to cut it. And this is where Unicode comes in to save the day. Unicode is this incredibly ambitious, powerful idea. The goal? To create one single, massive, universal dictionary that provides a unique number, they call it a code point, for every single character in every single language on planet Earth. Now, the way most of the web uses Unicode is through something called UTF-8, and its design is just brilliant. Here's why. It's what's called a variable length encoding. For any common English character, it uses just 1 byte of data, just like old school ASCII, which keeps things really fast and efficient. But for other characters from other languages, it can expand, using up to 4 bytes if it needs to. It's this amazing flexibility that lets it be both efficient and truly global. So we've gone all the way from simple on-off switches to a system that can represent pretty much any language in the world. But why does any of this techie stuff actually matter? Well, because this whole translation system is the invisible, fundamental DNA of our modern digital life. Just let that sink in for a second. Because we have these standards, a computer in Tokyo can perfectly understand and display text written on a computer in Cairo. It all works because we agreed on what the numbers mean. That is the incredible power of a universal standard. Every single emoji you send, every article you read online in a different language, it is all possible because of the systems we just talked about. They are the absolute bedrock of how we communicate online. It all comes down to finding these clever ways to translate our rich, messy human world into simple strings of ones and zeros. Which leaves us with a pretty cool question to think about. What's next? What will our next universal digital language need to be?